The person who's going to commit fraud against you always comes with a smile and is always your best friend. They're always the ones that are most helpful.
You're listening to the Affiliate Marketing Podcast brought to you by AffyVerseMedia.com, the chapter and verse of everything you need to know about running a successful affiliate program for your business. Now, here's your award-winning affiliate and performance marketing host, an industry veteran, your affiliate marketing guide, and the founder of Affyverse, Leanne Johnston.
Today, we're taking a dive into the wild world of lead generation, and we're joined by Simon Delaney, the mastermind behind Data Bowl. With over 2 decades in the trenches of lead gen, Simon's got some truth bombs that might just save your campaigns and your sanity. Ever wondered why those helpful lead gen partners are always smiling? Simon's got a theory that'll make you think twice about who you're getting into bed with. Spoiler alert, if you're not willing to spill the beans on their traffic sources, it might be time to show them the door. But we're not just here for pointing fingers. We're here to unpack the good, the bad, the downright fraudulent in the lead generation game. From the pitfalls of network-to-network deals to the power of affinity partnerships, we're covering it all. And for all of you newbies out there feeling a little bit overwhelmed, don't worry, because we've got your back. Simon's dishing out some golden advice on how to navigate this industry without getting burnt. Get ready to laugh, to learn, and maybe even cringe a little as we lift the lid on the affiliate marketing world and where lead generation is going to collide. Welcome to the Affiliate Marketing Podcast, where we're deep diving into the complexities of running a lead generation campaign with industry veteran Simon Delaney from Data Bowl. Together, we're talking about the challenges that affiliate program managers may be facing as they scale their affiliate programs and what is becoming a complex performance marketing melting pot. Simon, it's great to have you here on the podcast this week. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Slightly short on sleep. My 4-year-old son keeps getting up in the middle of the night, and unbelievably, last night he didn't, but I'm so trained to wake up at like 4 a.m. I woke up at 4 a.m. anyway.
For everybody tuning in, tell us a little bit about your impressive journey in this industry, building Data Bowl, and what your background is all about, just before we get into the complexities of building lead generation campaigns.
Sure. So I started in the lead gen industry when I was in my mid-20s in 2006. And at the time, when I started working at the company, literally about a month later, they got bought by the Daily Mail Group Trust, which is a multi-billion pound international conglomerate of all of Daily Mail type companies. And within a month of me starting, it was basically like, we've got 3 years to earn as much money as we can from the guy who owned it, because he was on a 3-year earnout. I think he got something like 25% up front and he was going for 75%. Obviously, at the time, that meant nothing to me. I was just some fresh-faced kid going in like, oh, this looks good.
Like all of us.
Exactly. But it quickly became apparent you've got to figure out how to make as much money as humanly possible so I can make as much money from this company and selling it as I possibly can. So it was all around lead gen anyway. They were a publisher. It quickly turned into an agency because we figured out that was a way to make more money. Then I just did lead gen. Bought and sold leads, ran lead generation campaigns. We worked like client-side agency, worked publisher-side, driving traffic. So I did that until the earnout was finished, which after 3 years was 2009. So there I worked for the Daily Mail for a year, doing a lot of lead generation within that company. So that sort of expanded the operation. Then we started working across all the titles in Daily Mail and stuff like that, doing lead generation. And a year after the buyout, I actually led a management buyout of the company and bought it back, because a lot of the times companies get bought by huge companies because they're very entrepreneurial. And when they get bought, they don't want them to be entrepreneurial. They want them to fit into a different box. And that company didn't fit great into the other box. Everybody that was involved in it initially left. Did a management buyout. Cut a long story short, the company always had systems, like a really rudimentary lead management system internally. And so from literally the day that I started there, it was, this system's crap. We need a better system. We either need to license something else or build our own. And it just never happened because it was all about earning money. And so when I did the management buyout, my entire MO was, I want to build a lead management system. It was really difficult to do that under the constraints of the company at that time and different people and the directions it was going in. So actually, I just walked out and just said, I'm going to go and do my own thing. Set up an agency called Media Bowl and ran that, doing lead generation. So just buying and selling leads and generating some of our own leads. So we became a publisher as well. used all the revenue from that to plow into software, which we started doing in, say, 2015, I think it was, and then made it commercial maybe 2016. That's led us to Data Bowl now in 2024. Yeah.
And the thing is, what I love about that story, first of all, it's entrepreneurial. You were in an industry, you found a problem, you knew that you needed to solve the problem, but you built the tech based on the people that use the tech. Because sometimes what happens is you implement a tool into your business and it looks good and it feels good, but when you actually get down to using it every day, it's disjointed. And often with affiliate tech, I find that a lot. It's beautifully designed, but it's not practical. And so what I love about your story is that you went from it like butt face. You went, I know what I need. It isn't out there and I need to go and build it. So It's a beautiful story about solving problems.
What's interesting about it is, though, that we've always taken a very, I guess you would say, moral stance with regards to lead generation and people's personal data. And so what I find interesting about what you just said is some of the biggest problems we have in terms of users of the system is when it makes fraud difficult to commit.
Okay, interesting topic.
Because no one would ever say they're going to be committing fraud. Would be like, oh, I just want to API this list data and make it look like it's leads. How do I do that? Anyway, these are the sort of things that come up.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so lead generation is a cornerstone of performance marketing. It's part of affiliate programs. Affiliate managers are expected to work with multiple different types of affiliates, lead generators being one of them. But what do you believe lead generation is showing us in terms of the way forward for brands looking to access new customer bases? What are some of the things that advertisers need to really look out for? And I know you post about a lot of this. And in fact, you've done a post today. So if you're listening to this podcast, go back and check LinkedIn, Simon Delaney. He posts a lot of really valuable information for marketers to have a look at when they're considering to actually start working with lead generators. So give us like 5 tips of what you should be doing before you jump into like bed with a lead generator. What are the things that you should be asking? What are the qualifying questions that you should be checking before you actually start to accept this lead traffic into your program?
So I think the first thing is you need to figure out what type of leads it is you're actually going to get. And the lead generation industry is actually 3 separate industries that overlaps with each other. In B2C, there's then B2B as well, but that's a different story. So that you have affiliate marketing, which is typically email or banner led from publishers' websites. Then you have more sales leads, which come from Facebook, Google, native, and it's typically into call centers or to drive direct sales. And then you have stuff like co-registration, where you have lower intent leads and it's driven by a third party within a survey of their site. So depending on what outcome you want to achieve, that needs to push the type of lead generation you're going to run. So if you're looking to, I don't know, you're a marketer and someone said, we need 50,000 leads in our CRM, you'll know this as well as anyone. You'll ask someone, what outcomes do you want? The outcome is, we want 50,000 leads in our CRM. You're like, okay, run co-registration or whatever. Or it could be we're looking to get more people to open or click our emails or sales or whatever. So again, it could be co-registration. If you're wanting immediate sales into a call center, you probably need to be looking at PPC, Facebook, actual lead generation companies, and also affiliate marketing. Affiliate marketing can straddle both those things potentially, which is why there's a bit of an overlap. Let's imagine that you've decided affiliate marketing is what we want to run. If you're an advertiser, which I'm assuming that's what we're talking about, you have 2 courses of action. So one is you're going to work directly with publishers, which means building your own network effectively. So you need to explore the internet of companies who are like-minded. Effectively, what we're looking for is affinity-based partnerships to look at it. But most probably, and because it's easier and they know what they're doing, you're going to go to a network. And there's lots of networks out there to choose from. We work with quite a lot. Once you've chosen a network to work with, personally, I want to know exactly where the traffic's coming from. I want to know the publisher. I want to know the website. I want to know how a user signed up. I want to know how many people are in the database. I want to know the type of companies they've worked with before. I want to see why my ad should be running with that company.
Of course.
And then you go into the creative aspects, placing pixels. Is it going to be direct to your site? Are you going to build a landing page and have the traffic driven to that? If so, what's the benefit? And typically the benefit of building an external landing page to it being driven to your website, this is for lead generation, not sales. You need to have fraud detection on your site. So if you don't have that, like, you're asking for trouble. You need to have verification on the form. I can virtually guarantee advertisers have verification on the form. It'll be really rudimentary where it's like, number of characters or something. And then you want to be able to sort of track the sources, either from information given by the network or via your own systems of where the traffic's coming from. And then once that's happened, what you really need to do, depending on the outcome that you're looking to achieve, is start analyzing the results of the leads that you get broken down by the source they're coming from. So if we're looking at filling a CRM for marketing purposes, which is what a lot of generation is for, you want to look at the opening click rates of emails, for example, that come by source, especially if it's like a long lead time for sales that come in, track it by source, and then only then would I think expanding around it. One thing that I tend to focus on a fair bit is you can quite easily, and especially with AI tools now, figure out your total addressable market for lead generation. And I, like you said with the LinkedIn post, I point that out quite a lot, which is because you hear some extraordinary claims, right?
Tell us those claims. Give us the juice.
Well, I don't know. It could just be like, we can get you 50,000 test drives for Toyota Corolla for women over 50, let's say. And you can quickly work out, like in minutes, that in the past would have taken a bit of research. Now it can be in minutes, exactly what the total addressable market is. Like how many people in that demographic drive a Toyota Corolla? I don't know that figure. I could go and work it out. But let's imagine it's 20,000.
Yeah.
So from that 20,000, you're never going to be able to reach all of them, bear in mind, no matter what anybody says. So you can probably almost immediately remove 50, 60%. And even then you're being generous. And then let's imagine it's going out via emails because it's the quickest way to reach an audience and they're all existing and we know the type of vehicle they want or own there. You're going to get, depending on the context behind it, 10% if amazing open rate on emails. From that, you're going to get a 20% click-through rate. From that, you're going to get a 20% form fill rate. And if you know what your form fill rate is to sales, you can literally predict how many sales you'll get from it. And that's all you need to do. And you can start making decisions. So then when you hear claims of we've got this much data and we can generate this many leads, you can just shoot it down instantly because you can instantly hear whether it's false or not.
The thing is, you need to know your math, but you also need to be willing to ask qualifying questions because a lot of people get excited by oh my word, like I can do this one deal and I'm going to make my quota for the quarter. And they'll go ahead blindly and take everything that person is telling them at face value and then wonder why the campaign doesn't work 3 months later because the traffic at the top of the funnel wasn't validated and it wasn't actually realistic, whatever was being sold. So my advice to affiliate managers listening to this, if you're going to go and work with lead generators, 1, make sure that you've got the tools in place, like Simon's just said. 2, make sure you're working with legitimate companies who have like proof of testimonials of working with clients, like religiously, not just one time, but like repetitively, they're working with the same clients. And 3, ask qualifying questions, because if you don't do that, you could find yourself getting a whole bunch of like really crappy leads that increase your costs, take up time to work out what's being fraudulent, have a knock-on effect to other parts of your business like customer service, and just become a mess, really, by the sounds of things. So you really do need to know what you're doing in order to get into the lead gen space, especially when you're paying on a performance metric like a cost per lead or the CPA or whatever it is that your budget is being put against. What about scaling? Because a lot of people will look to lead generators to scale quickly. So if they're looking to like hit quotas or expand their businesses, maybe even launching new products in new markets, what are some of the things that people need to ask of these lead generation companies to like sense check them? Are they like simple questions that you commonly get asked by new brands that want to work with you?
No, very few people ever ask it. We probably wouldn't be having this conversation if they did. But I think it still revolves around what we just said. So it's like knowing the sources of traffic. Because once you know that, if I know the websites, because that's all we're talking about. And it's just...
That is the problem, is that some affiliates and lead generators, they're not going to tell you their source of traffic because that's their USP. So how do you get over that conversation? Do you then just run a small test?
I just don't work with them. We have a contract with them. It's almost like an NDA. So there you go.
Yeah.
I'll tell you where the traffic comes from, sign this document. It's literally that simple.
Is that maybe an early flag as well? Like when somebody doesn't want to tell you where their traffic's from?
That's what I was going to say.
Even when you're signing an NDA, it's like an early warning flag.
I just don't work with people who don't tell me things. Literally, you avoid the problem. And you know why? If somebody's hiding something, they're literally doing it for a reason. It's never their traffic source and this is some manna from heaven and they've got this special relationship with them and they can make it work. Why would they be bothered about telling you? But personally, I do not get it at all. And that is an immediate red flag. I understand maybe an NDA, that's fine. Because I might not trust the publisher that I'm going to run it with more than believe you're going to go after them. So I don't want them to get wind of it or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't understand. The moment anyone hides anything, just don't work with them.
It's like simple advice. Like sometimes the simplest advice is, it sounds simple, but it's actually brilliant.
I promise you will avoid so many problems.
But this is experience talking. Like a young account manager that's being tasked with sales, they're going to want to explore every avenue that comes across.
If we're talking about those sort of people, I'll give you another piece of advice. Yeah. It's a bit like the mafia, this. The person who's going to commit fraud against you always comes with a smile and is always your best friend. They're always the ones that are most helpful. But what I mean is, literally, affiliate marketing is relationship-based, right?
It is, 100%.
It's 100% relationship-based. But what's interesting is what we're talking about is data. So it's relationship-based, but everything is revealed by the data.
The numbers don't lie. I always tell that to my team. The numbers don't lie.
Exactly. So you want great relationships, right? But you can't be like naively loyal. I'm really loyal to people that don't rip me off.
Yeah.
I'm really loyal to people that don't send me fraudulent leads. I'm really loyal to people that tell me like where the traffic comes from. The people that don't, and they might be the most helpful people in the world, like, why is he not telling me that? Or why are you being so nice?
That analogy of why, like you really do need to sometimes drill down and ask why. And then when the answer comes, ask why again. And when the answer comes, ask why again until they can answer no more. And there's no more whys to ask. And by doing that, you're actually pre-qualifying whether this campaign is going to work or not for you. And there's nothing wrong with that because as an affiliate manager, you are supposed to be the custodian of your business's revenue. And it is your job to actually ask why. But a lot of people feel scared to because they don't want to ruin the relationship or start a relationship with mistrust. But actually in our industry, if you want to get rid of fraud, you must trust no one and ask about everything. Yeah. And that's pretty much the kind of motto that I run by.
And the only way you can gain trust is being transparent. And that's the motto behind it. There's a few things in this. There's two types of people who harm comes from in the affiliate industry. And one is like just fraudsters, right? You probably might not even meet them because they rely on like shadowy networks. Where the actual problem comes from is like a naivety of how it works. So this is a LinkedIn post I literally put today. The affiliate industry, especially for lead generation, is incredibly easy to enter. There's no barrier to entry. That can unfortunately make quite a lot of people very naive, both buy and sell side. And the problem with that is, and this is really the managers or, you know, if they're in a company, if they're individuals, then you might want to steer clear of them anyway if they're very naive. I'm very naive about brain surgery, but I'm not masquerading as a brain surgeon.
Love that.
Do you know, like, why are you doing this when you don't know what you're doing?
It's like Lead Generation Gospel by Simon Delaney available. But it is true because we do have a lot of naive young people entering this space. There's not a lot of training for them. I was actually at the APMA governance board meeting just yesterday in London. Training is a big part of what needs to happen in this industry in order for it to scale. And with some of the numbers that have just been shared, I don't know if you've checked out our website today, but we shared some of the numbers that the APMA released for the UK in the affiliate marketing industry. And the growth rates that we're seeing in this industry are just astronomical compared to any other industry, you know, year on year. It's just continuously growing.
What does APMA stand for, sorry?
The Affiliate Performance Marketing Association. Okay. Very, very interesting numbers. Go check it out on Advertise.com. We published live from the event, actually some of the high performing numbers. And off the top of my head, I could remember 21 billion, massively growing industry. We actually grew 17% year on year, whereas the average in the US was 15%, which actually shows that the UK market is a little bit more mature in terms of affiliate performance marketing. There were some really cool numbers, but you can check it out on the APMA website, and we'll probably be getting Kevin Edwards in to come and talk about that stuff. But with that massive growth, there is a lack of training because we have to find more resources to come in to actually do the jobs because the spend through our channel is growing so fast year on year. And it's lack of education that's allowing fraud to happen because we're not being transparent and we're not asking these questions. So looking ahead, how do you see the lead generation landscape evolving? Like, how do you see it converging with affiliate performance and not being siloed, which is something that we actually discussed at length at the Elevate Summit. You were actually a speaker then and conducted a really interesting panel. And I just want to do a quick plug. If you didn't get to Elevate, go and sign up for the virtual event. You can watch all of the content that we shared there and learn heaps from the people that were speaking. How do you think the two industries are merging together, and why is it important for affiliate managers to train themselves on lead generation and all the things that they're going to need to do, including the tools that they have to use in order to run it effectively.
So what we're talking about is the CPA side, as in cost per acquisition, and the lead gen side converging. So I would say there's more fraud potentially in the lead gen side, just because it's easier to commit, because it's harder to people do defraud sales, but it's harder to do, and they use coupon sites and whatever. It's different type of fraud. The lead gen is about bots, click farms, whatever. So
human farm.
They converge in a way that we should be using the traffic from all those sources together. I almost feel in some ways the CPA stuff, there's more alignment in this idea of affinity deals because it's what drives sales. So let's say you have a mum and baby site. It's going to go on mum and baby related brands and blogs and different things. I think with lead gen, there's less of that, and it's more who's got the biggest list will send this thing out. And that actually causes a lot of the problems, because that leads to this sort of the intent behind the lead, the lack of quality leads. So for me, I'd love to see for the lead gen side, it move more to the sort of affinity type deals that you see more in CPA is number one. That's why I'd like to see the convergence. Number two, I don't know how much this happens in the sales side, because I'm not involved in it. I just purely work on the CPL. Is network to network. I would just outlaw that. I don't know. Can we pass a bill or something in Parliament? Just to give you a real quick example. We've run some lead gen campaigns for our clients that will license our software that occasionally ask us for help. So we'll use PPC, Facebook, whatever, and we'll use affiliate channels. And we do it for testing as well, right? Like for our own product and whatever. I can go onto Google and I might see 5-10% bad leads. I can go onto Facebook. I'm looking at probably 20%. If I go network to network, it's 50 to 60%. If I work directly with a publisher, it goes back to about what Google and Facebook is, maybe in between 15%, say. Problem in a lead gen affiliate, I don't know if it's the same in CPA, I'm assuming it, is when it goes network to network, I just don't understand what happens. This is why I'd outlaw it for two reasons. One is that's where the fraud happens, because you lose control of it. It's suddenly in the Wild West now. You don't know who's got it, who's running it. It can be hidden, it'd be network upon network. There's that problem. The other is, if I'm an advertiser and I've come to you as a network, I'm using you because I believe you have the publishers who I can work with. You obviously don't have them if you're going to another network. So either refer me to that network and you work your own deal out, or go and find the publishers to work with me. And the other problem is, and I don't know if it's the same in CPA, I'm assuming it is, the affiliate world reminds me of the lead gen world, as in PPC, Facebook, lead gen world a long time ago. There's so many brokers. The advertiser, let's say they spend £100. It goes to an agency, they take 30% off, maybe more, who knows? It's now at £70. Goes to a network, they take half off. We're now at £35. Goes to another network, they take another 30% off. You start at £100, the publisher driving the traffic at the end is getting £13. This is where the problems are. And it's disgraceful. Like, I just don't get it. Very few people are adding value.
Well, I'd beg to differ on the agency side.
Oh, agency is different. I'm just talking about the money being removed.
Network to network, I mean, the network is the tracking solution as well. And this is actually something that affiliate managers need to think about, is when is the right time to bring sub-affiliate networks in, because they do have a value at a certain life cycle point in your program, wherever you are. They might actually have a geo focus, which is why you're bringing them in, because your current network doesn't have that space. So it's not that Simon's saying don't do any of this stuff, but what he's saying is think about your strategy in terms of like, when is the right time to do these things? Is it the right time to be doing all of those things right now at the beginning of your journey, or should you be spending more time to go and build those direct relationships because the profit margin is a lot higher? And this is where the education comes in, because when you're not thinking strategically about your program, this is where the margins fall away. So you have to be like really educating people and educating your staff on when is the right time to do the right things. Because if you do them in the wrong order, if you had to build a car and put it in the assembly line and just put it willy-nilly through the assembly line, you might not get a car at the end. And it's exactly the same with your affiliate program or your lead generation campaign. If you don't have all those building blocks in place, all those tools to root out the fraud, you're just literally throwing money at a wall and hoping to see what sticks.
Yeah. And just on that point as well, you're right with the agency. I'm not saying don't work with an agency. I'm just pointing out, like, you've got to be realistic about where money's removed and whatever. This is why you need
Of course.
transparency, because it doesn't matter if there's I'm not saying everyone needs to disclose how much money they earn or whatever. Everyone needs to be realistic. You've got to remember, the only person that suffers in this scenario is the advertiser. Well, and the publisher, because they're like, why are you giving me such a crap CPL? What you just mentioned as well is an agency, if they know what they're doing in the network, will stop all that stuff happening.
Exactly.
Right? So what happens is that happens to, and it doesn't mean having a go if you're a naive buyer. This is just the reality.
Hey, if you don't know how to swim and you get in the swimming pool and you drown, you can't expect somebody else to come and rescue you. Like, you shouldn't be getting in the swimming pool in the first place. So know your limits and hire the people that you need in order to not be taken for granted.
Exactly. And frustrating in a sense, which is, a few weeks ago, I was talking about something like this on LinkedIn. I did a post, like I did done one today, saying, no, bro marketers or whatever. Someone messaged me who I know well, I've known him for years, and said, you're ruining the industry saying this stuff. And what I replied to him is, no, I'm trying to save the industry. It's not like I'm the savior as in trying to save it. But what I mean is, I know affiliate marketing works, right? I can see it works. I see the results from it constantly. I know people that do really well from it. It's one of the best channels you'll probably use for any type of paid media.
The growth rates show that.
Exactly.
Compared to other media channels. But But
we don't want that to stop. And that's the thing.
The growth also needs to be tracked as accurate growth, not fraudulent growth, because fraud growth isn't actually growth, is it? It's just fraud. So I totally agree with you. And the thing is that we are too afraid to talk about what's going on, and we are too afraid to pull back the curtain and go, here's a problem. We did this campaign, it didn't work. This is why it didn't work. Now everybody go and learn from it. Because we're too insular and we work too much in silos, and so nobody ends up learning. And that's exactly why I wanted to bring you on this podcast. And it's exactly why I've started this podcast, is to talk about all of these things and to educate the wider community that are working in this industry so that we can move it along and move it ahead. Because one day, people like you and I who have 20 years experience, we're going to exit out of the industry, and then what? Like, where does that legacy go to? Because there's no school of lead generation, as far as I know. There certainly is no school of affiliate marketing. They don't even teach it at university. So here's this billion-dollar industry that keeps growing double digits year on year, and it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's just willy-nilly going ahead with no best practice, no guidelines, no education, because it's all self-led. So unless you're genuinely interested in this industry and you actually want to build a career in it, you have to teach yourself. And so this podcast is one of those channels that you can use to learn from industry experts like you and all the other guests that I bring onto this podcast. So I guess we have to wrap it up because it's our 30-minute time slot. But looking ahead, how do you see the lead generation landscape evolving right now, in particular with advancements to technology and AI that you mentioned before? Where do you see the industry headed? What do you think the next big things are going to be?
Yeah, I think AI will be instrumental in two ways. So one, the building of assets will speed up massively. Landing pages, copy, don't need copywriters anymore. And design will be, you might to a degree, be like generic
a basic copy. Generic stuff you can get done with early.
And also, one of the big things with AI that everybody misses is if you don't feed back the results of leads, like AI becomes worthless. That's really what you need to see is what clicks turn to sales, what open rates turn to sales, what leads turn to sales. You can only get it with feedback. In terms of the future, I'm just trying to think what won't change and then what will. AI will have an impact and it'll be that. But the thing is, you've got to remember the AI can be used for bad as much as it could good if you want to use it. I think affiliate will grow more for lead gen. I predict it'll grow a lot more because the CPCs on a lot of other channels are going out of whack on Facebook, Google, whatever. The fraud technology become more and more important, and it could be that advertisers stop driving traffic to their own pages as a result, or start implementing on their own pages and actually have microsites and landing pages that implement all the technology and tools that they need on there. Ideally, the industry should be self-regulating to a degree, which is something we're potentially not doing, which is trying to root out where bad practices, bad traffic and things. But I think it would really help push the affiliate industry a long way. And maybe that's part of educating advertisers as well.
One last piece of advice that you could give to brands or agencies or anybody that's starting out with lead gen. What's the one piece of advice that you would give them before they start?
Work out exactly what outcome you want.
Okay. And be specific about that outcome because otherwise there can be an influx of leads, but it won't be the right leads that you want.
Start at the very end of what it is you want to achieve and work backwards.
Thanks for tuning in this week. It has been a pleasure to have you on this podcast, Simon. I think we've told people a lot of valuable things that they need to think about before they get into lead generation. It's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast. It was a pleasure to have you at Elevate. And again, I'm going to plug, if you didn't come to the Elevate Summit in London, get that virtual ticket because there is so much information that we shared at that 2-day event and you will be missing out if you don't access it. I'd love to look behind the scenes again with you in a year or two's time and bring you back on this podcast because I think a lot is going to change between now and then. And I think we need to keep our eyes on how the two industries are converging, simply because performance isn't anymore a channel, it's a payment mechanism. And it spans across multiple different traffic sources. And this is why we need to educate people. So really appreciate you giving us your time today and being on this podcast and sharing a little bit more about being #transparent AF, because that's the only way to do it. So it's been a pleasure to have you on this podcast. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you, Leanne.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of your affiliate program skyrocketing. Intrigued? Then you need to know about Advertise magazine. This isn't just another industry publication. It's your personal affiliate marketing powerhouse. Imagine having a mentor, a strategist, a productivity coach, all rolled into one sleek square package that sits right on your desk, helping you to grow your affiliate program every single quarter. Advertise magazine is the quarterly toolkit you've been dreaming of. It's packed with cutting-edge insights, expert interviews, and a full promotional calendar brimming with ideas to keep you ahead of the curve. But here's where it gets really exciting. We've included guided planning sheets and goal-setting tools that turn your big ideas into actionable steps. It's like having an accountability partner that never sleeps. Whether you're mapping out your next big campaign or planning your affiliate conference schedule, the Advertise magazine keeps you on track and fired up. And the best part? This game-changing resource is available to you to download digitally or order in print. But wait, there's more. Join our exclusive club and you'll get the premium print edition delivered to your door every single quarter. Plus, you'll unlock a treasure trove of perks, including live strategy sessions with industry titans and VIP access to our in-person events. Don't let another quarter slip by without this secret weapon in your arsenal. Head to advertisemedia.com, click on the magazine button at the top of the homepage, and order your print copy of the Advertise magazine today. Your desk, your affiliates, and your business will thank you.